Whether you ended up picking a Switch up back in March of 2017, or you have a Nintendo Switch Lite that you play on regularly, you need the new Nintendo Switch OLED right now. Don't get me wrong, I love my Nintendo Switch that I have from day one. However, there's some things that have been upgraded on the Switch OLED that I think are definitely well worth having. But right now, the Nintendo Switch OLED is hard to get, but that doesn't matter. I still think you should definitely get one. The first thing we have to talk about is the look and feel of the Switch OLED. Whether it's that huge kickstand on the back with the Switch logo on it, or the bigger screen on the front, down to those white Joy-Cons and the dock, those things look amazing. I'm really glad we got a white console for the Switch because these look amazing. Even down to the different shapes of the power button or the volume button, with the speakers in a little bit of a different spot, and the Switch being a little bit wider actually. Don't get me wrong, this thing looks amazing and I love it, but just the Switch OLED gives it kind of that new, and it gives it that kind of clean feel. Now, I wonder if this is going to get dirty being white. However, it's not exactly white. It's a little bit of an off-white color, but I really think it looks amazing with the Joy-Cons on the contrast to the black actual Switch. And that's another thing. Why didn't they make the actual Switch body white? I know they made the Joy-Cons and the dock white, but this whole thing would have been white. It would have been absolutely insane. Now that we talked about how it looks, let's go ahead and talk about that kickstand, which makes a huge difference. The amount of angles you can move the kickstand to is totally awesome. You're not stuck with like one angle, which is great, but also you don't have to worry about it tipping over. There's no way that that whole thing is going to be tipped over just on accident because of the weight of the Switch. You would actually have to physically hit it over to get it to fall, whereas with that old skinny Switch stand, it was pretty easy to fall, and quite honestly, that's the reason I didn't use it. However, this kickstand is not one that falls off, so make sure you fold that thing all the way in before you do put it in the dock, because you do not want to try to jam it in there and mess everything up. The old Switch, it would pop right off, but I don't think you would kind of be able to shove it in there, to be honest. Once you kind of open that kickstand up, you notice two things that are vastly different than the other Switch models. One, you see the SD card is nice and hidden and isn't on the bottom, it's kind of in the middle, which to me is kind of awesome because it won't accidentally get bumped or anything like that. It is fully protected and you don't have to worry about anything. And the next thing has to be those two little speaker slots. Now, usually those were on the front of the Switch and now they're on the bottom, kind of on the back. However, it kind of feels nice being able to kind of see where the speakers are and see how long they are. They are much bigger. I think the quality of the sound might be a little bit better, but it's not something I really noticed. Otherwise, I really think this new kickstand being the whole width of the Switch OLED is totally awesome, and Nintendo did a really good job on it. The next thing we have to talk is how vibrant this screen is on the Switch OLED. And if you didn't know already, the Switch OLED has an OLED screen, thus the title Switch OLED. And so when I talk about a screen that is more vibrant and looks really good, I'm really meaning the Switch OLED. It looks way better than the other Switch ones do. Even just putting some images on the screen and looking at them, this thing really makes those colors pop, whether it's bright and vibrant colors or really dark muted colors. I definitely think this is something that you should definitely look into if you are wanting something that looks better. Now, a lot of people, when they were complaining about the Switch, they were saying we need a Pro model, and I think the Switch OLED is probably as close as we're going to get with that. It is a much better screen, and I think the battery life should actually be better because of the way that the screen is. But to be honest, I don't know too much about how the screen works with the battery, so just take that as it is. If you are looking to play a game kind of like Hades that's dark but also has awesome colors in it, I think the Switch OLED is the best way to play it. I've been talking about the colors and everything about it. However, the screen is also bigger. Who is going to complain that the Switch OLED is actually a bigger screen. I don't know anyone that will, but I will say it does go out to the edge, which is totally awesome. Compared to the other Switches, there was kind of a bigger border around them. And I think I really like the way that this looks. And it does come with kind of a protective coating on the screen as well, which the other ones didn't. However, I would probably still get a glass screen protector for it. The next thing, and one of the most notable things about the Switch OLED, is actually how the dock looks. Now, this thing does look different. It's obviously white compared to the gray or black versions of the previous Switches, and that's one really good thing there that looks really cool. But there's also a few different design kind of changes to it as well. The corners are rounded, which I think makes this kind of look more sleek and doesn't look as boxy as the previous version. However, I have noticed that if you put your Switch in the dock, it does have a little bit more room to move around, so you want to be careful about that. I think this was due to the scratching of the screens in previous versions, but it does rattle around, and I'm not sure if I like that, to be quite honest with you. Now, if you go ahead and flip that Switch dock around, you will notice that there's a few different changes. If you pop the back off, you can pop that off completely. There's no hinge there, and it's pretty awesome. I think I might actually leave mine off. I leave it on sometimes and then I take it off other times. But there's actually some new ports here on the back of the Switch dock. There is a USB-C, a HDMI, and an Ethernet port. If you're someone who plays something online like maybe Super Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or anything else for that matter, having that Ethernet port on the back of your Switch dock is way better than having to have a USB to Ethernet and having to deal with another dongle or adapter. So I really love that they put that actually in the dock itself. And if you look on the side of it, you will see that like the other versions, this has two USB-A ports on it as well. One more thing before we do get out of here, I want to talk about the box and kind of the design of it. Now, this pops way better than just kind of the old drab one like this. It's not as awesome as looking as this. So this one, I think, is way better looking. The Switch OLED box looks pretty awesome. On the back, it actually gives you a few more things to see from the Switch itself, whether it's tabletop mode, TV mode, or even handheld mode. This box is very simple, but it does explain exactly what the Switch does. So if someone didn't know what the Switch was, but someone was requesting one, maybe for like a gift or something, they could look at this and see what it does without really having to do much thinking. And overall, I just really like the look and feel of this box. The Switch OLED is $350, which is more than the other versions, whether it's the $200 version, which is the Switch Lite, or the $300 version, which is the Nintendo Switch, whether it's the version 1 or 2. But I definitely think the enhancements are well worth the money. If you don't have a Switch at all, I highly suggest spending either the extra $50 to get the Switch OLED or going with the Switch Lite, maybe just for handheld mode. But if you already have a Switch, maybe you have a Switch version 2, you might not need it as much, but you still definitely need it. Just the look and feel of this system alone makes it well worth it with that extra $50. Now, I do have a friend that took his Switch, went to GameStop, traded it in, and only spent like $100 to $150, and he used the trade credit from his first Switch and bought a Switch OLED, and he absolutely loves it as well. So if you've been thinking about getting the Switch OLED or kind of been wondering what is the difference and why it's out there from Nintendo, I hope this video really helped you out. And if it did, make sure you subscribe and let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments. But I really think you should have a Nintendo Switch OLED in your collection. If you have a Switch at all, you should probably have an OLED. Let's be honest here. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys. Peace.